So today we have another interview with another cast member of the Final Fantasy VII Remake trilogy. This time it is the lovely Britt Baron, who is the voice of the powerful and much beloved Tifa Lockhart. She talks about delving into Tifa's past and how it might be a little muddier this time, and how Tifa is a very multi-dimensional character. So if any of that sounds cool to you, feel free to click the like button, and if you're new here and you'd like to stick around, you can subscribe. It is always appreciated. So I've been following Britt on social media for a few years now. I was really just kind of taken aback by her performance in 7 Remake. I thought she was wonderful, and she really nailed the keyword here we're going to be using a lot is the nuance of Tifa. And she seems like a genuinely great person, an absolute sweetheart who does a lot of work with dog fostering and dog rescues, which is super close to my heart because I'm an animal person and I also have a dog, and she is not my pet. She's in fact my child. I may not have given birth to her, but she is my daughter and I love her like she is my living, breathing child. So a lot of that stuff just kind of hits home to me. But getting to the interview, much like Cody Christian's interview, this one comes to us directly from Square Enix, where they sit down with Britt to discuss all things Tifa Lockhart and her role from Remake going into Rebirth. So starting off, Square asks her about the popularity of Tifa and why she thinks that's so. Britt responds, "I think Tifa is so beloved because she's so multi-dimensional. I think she's incredibly empathetic, she's passionate, she's kind, and a motherly figure to a lot of the other characters. She's very relatable, at least to me, probably because I spent so many hours voicing her. I find her incredibly relatable, and I think that her ability to want justice, but also to care about all the morals behind what they're doing, makes her stand out amongst this whole story and plotline. And I think that she's really dimensional, fully written. I think that's why the game is so successful, because all of the characters are really fully fleshed out. They're realistic humans, and I think Tifa definitely is one of those." And I fully agree. Tifa is one of my favorite characters in the game because of how multi-dimensional she actually is. She's kind of like the definition of, you know, walk softly and carry a big stick. She has such a big heart, she genuinely cares about all people, and she wants to do the right thing. But when push comes to shove, she will protect any and everyone, which I really love. And there's a really great example of that in 7 Remake, which Britt Baron also uses as an example, so we'll get to that a little bit later. But Tifa is very much that motherly figure. She has doubts about things, she's got a very strong conscience, and I think that makes her so relatable because at the end of the day, as people, I think most of us just want to do the right thing, and we want to go about it the best way possible without hurting any other people. Up next, much like Cody, they ask Britt about the reaction, not only to her voicing Tifa, but her performance. Britt responds by saying, "I think the reaction to Remake was crazy and incredible. I wasn't that well versed with the game going in, and people in my life tried to warn me, but I was just really blown away. I think the stakes were so high, so it's really scary as an actor because all of those fans hold this game so dear to their heart. They grew up playing it. I mean, how can you ever live up to expectations? So I was just really blown away and grateful because you always want to do the fans justice, and you want to do the character justice because she's so beloved by so many people. So the pressure I felt," which she then proceeds to laugh. But the reaction was amazing. It was also mid-COVID, so it was really a fun time in a really dark moment of the world. And again, much like Cody, she very much understands the amount of love that this franchise has and the amount of pressure that they feel to get it right. And I'm so happy that, again, much like Cody, she got to experience the love and the joy from the fans, the positivity, because that toxicity is out there in every single fan base, and there are people that will make their voice heard if they dislike something or they hate something, and it's fine to voice criticism, but when you veer into that territory and cross that line of being just mean and toxic and you're threatening people and sending death threats, that is just uncalled for, it's inappropriate. And I think if you do that, you kind of have to take a step back and reevaluate some things in your life because that's not cool. But her performance as Tifa was mind-blowing. Even just hearing her line delivery in the trailers, that softness to Tifa, but also having that edge, she absolutely nailed it. And I'm glad that she got to see the positive reaction to that. And to her words in regards to the C virus, COVID, 7 Remake came out right as that pandemic was starting, and we didn't know what it was going to be like, how bad this is going to get, how long are we going to have to stay in our homes. And for a lot of people, we found solace in playing these games games and games like Animal Crossing and 7 Remake, they really blew up because they allowed people to just kind of be at home and get lost in these worlds, in these stories, and just have fun, and then go online and communicate about their experience playing these games. So it was kind of in a weird way, and I don't mean this in an inappropriate way, kind of lightning in a bottle, so to speak, just based on that kind of situation and time frame. Up next, they ask Britt about when she realized how much expectation there were from the fans in regards to her portrayal as Tifa. She responds by saying, "It was strange because when I found out I was cast, I had auditioned for a few roles in Final Fantasy, so I didn't at first even know who I was cast as. And once I told my husband, he was the one that was like, 'You are Tifa.' And that kind of began the journey of, wow, you have really big shoes to fill." This always happens with any project I'm a part of. When you're filming it, when you're recording it, it feels all very intimate, safe, and protected. You're working with the creative team in a very intimate setting, and it's not until when you're about to wrap up you realize, oh my gosh, this baby that we've been working on is going to be released into the world, and you hope it'll be received well. I think you just try to do the best in the moment and do your best work as an actor, but I try not to focus so much on the pressure in the moment when we're recording. I think afterwards, once it's out of my hands, that's when I start to get a little more anxious, which probably is bad, but that's my method. Again, she proceeds to laugh, and she seems like such a very bubbly, happy individual, which I can very much appreciate. And I'm actually really curious about that first part. I really would love to know, and I don't know if she can even divulge this information, what were the other roles that she auditioned for? Were they like side characters or NPCs or other main cast members? It would be really cool to figure out one day who these other characters were that she auditioned for, and if it was even just 7 Remake, maybe it was previous Final Fantasies as well. Up next is the very ever important question of how has Tifa changed from Remake to Rebirth? Britt responds by saying, "We see a lot more of her backstory in Rebirth. We get to go back to some of Tifa's trauma and see more of why she is the way she is and what vengeance she is seeking, and also trying to figure out her own past, what's true and what isn't, and she's working through that with Cloud. I think it's more muddied, and I don't want to say darker, but the stakes feel higher in this game. The first game was more of an introduction, and I think we really delved deep in Rebirth." So obviously every character in this game has faced trauma. We know Cloud's trauma, it's a massive bit of trauma, but for Tifa, there's some key moments that occur with her character when she's just a kid that also involve Cloud, which I won't get too spoilery with, but it's a really heartbreaking moment because Cloud as this character just wants to be accepted and wants to be friends with Tifa, and she's very open, she's very accepting of him, but there's an incident that occurs that separates the two for a little while because of the town's worry for young child Tifa, so to speak. And then as Tifa gets older, there's the Nibelheim flashback, there's even more trauma that her character faces, and those moments are key to developing who she is as a character, what she believes in, and what she's eventually going to fight for. So getting to delve more into that past aspect of both Tifa and Cloud is something that I'm really excited to see, and I think they're going to be doing that for a good majority of the cast, including Barrett and maybe even Aerith. Up next, they ask Britt about her personal favorite moment from 7 Remake, and this is the example that I was going to use earlier that Britt then uses. She says, "My favorite scene to play in Remake might have been on the train when Tifa saves one of the Shinra employees. It was such a high action-paced, intense scene. We recorded it early on, and I think that it really illuminates who Tifa is as a human. It encapsulates who she is, so I really enjoyed that, and I think it was one of those pivotal scenes where I really got to solidify what voice I was using, who she was as a character in my portrayal." And that right there, god damn it, man, she gets it. She understands this character, what makes her tick, and why she is the way that she is, and I love it. In that scene where they're on the train and they're attacked by the Shinra robots, Tifa's first reaction is to make sure everyone is safe. And she even goes to the Shinra manager, the middle manager guy, and she wants him to be safe and to get out of there. And I don't remember the exact dialogue verbatim, but he is kind of stunned at first. He's like, "But I'm the enemy, I'm with Shinra." And Tifa responds, and holy shit, I'm getting emotional thinking about it. She goes, "I don't care, I just don't want anyone else to get hurt." And that's who Tifa is. She makes sure that everyone is protected and safe, and then when that push comes to shove, she is ready to fight those Shinra robots, and that is who Tifa is. She wants to make sure people are safe, she wants to do the right thing, regardless of who is involved, she wants to protect people, and I love that about her character, and I think that's something that we can all relate to, is just wanting to do the right thing and wanting to see the best in people and try to do what we can to help. And she absolutely nails that with her portrayal. Now, the previous actress who played Tifa, I think she might have actually been the only actress to voice Tifa on the English side of things, was Rachel Lee Cook. And I actually thought Rachel did a pretty good job as Tifa. She didn't always get the greatest material to work with, but I think she also kind of nailed that softness to Tifa and a little bit of that edge. So I do want to shout out Rachel in particular. I thought she did a great job as well, but Britt Baron's portrayal is just phenomenal, and she really gets, again, that nuance of her character. And that also speaks to everyone involved in this project, from the writers to the directors to the localization, the actors, producers. Everyone understands this world and these characters and how they should be portrayed, and they all understand that this is very important and they cannot mess this series up. They have to get it right, and they have to nail it on the first go. And they're doing, in my opinion, a very great job of that. Up next, they ask her, does she have a favorite scene that she filmed for Rebirth? So Britt responds by saying it might have been with Tifa and Cloud. I think it's pretty emotional. It was one of the earlier scenes that we recorded, and at that time we were recording Japanese hours. So it was really late night in Los Angeles, which, when you get a little tired, feels even more intimate. She's trying to express her feelings for Cloud. She's trying to figure out what's going on with him, and I think those kind of scenes are really fun for me because a lot of our recording is so disjointed, and that was one of the instances in Rebirth where I got to record the scenes start to finish, and Cody might have already recorded. Sometimes they'll play his lines for me, which is also really nice and helpful because I'm then playing off of him, which I think I did get to do in that scene. So obviously, there's a number of really intimate, close scenes between Cloud and Tifa. Tifa is very much kind of like an anchor to Cloud. She understands that something is not right, memories and experiences are not lining up with what she experienced, and she very much tries to take whatever opportunity she can, without pushing too much, to try and not necessarily poke and prod at Cloud, but try and get him to open up a little bit. But she knows when to pull back as well. And to see those moments where they really just kind of open up to each other and talk is a really beautiful thing, and you see that in 7 Remake. In the bar scene, Tifa opens up to Cloud where she's like, I know that we need to do this, I know that we are eventually going to help people, but I feel trapped, because she doesn't always agree with the methods that Avalanche and Barrett are using to get back at Shinra and to try and help people. So that's where her conscience really kicks in, and how big her heart is, because she just cares. She just wants to do the right thing, and man, I love Britt. She's doing such a great job of understanding this character and her portrayal. I can't help but gush. And I know I sound like I'm just kind of glazing over everyone's hot dogs in these videos, but everyone is, in my opinion, doing fantastic. So I want to call out great work when I see it. You know, I think a lot of people would view Tifa as kind of like the heart of the group, maybe even Aerith, but Tifa very much is that moral compass, which they do bring up in this interview about how Tifa's the moral compass of the group, and that's one of Britt's favorite things about Tifa and portraying her, is being able to lead with that kindness and empathy and her heart, and that inevitably is what leads her to helping people and figuring out between right and wrong. And to end this video, we're going to talk about a few things very quickly, but they ask her about doing the physical grunt sounds and battle noises in the studio, and is that very difficult? Britt responds by saying, I think I'm acting it out a little bit. However, you can't move much because you don't want to move off mic. Voice acting is super technical, especially for my character. It's very different than John Eric Bentley playing, who is the voice of Barrett. And she stops, pauses, and thinks, and then she says the name Barrett, and then she proceeds to burst out laughing. She goes, oh my God, I forgot his character's name. I'm like, who does that guy play again? And then John, being nearby, says, did somebody say your name? So I thought that was really funny. It shows how close the cast is and how we all kind of have those oof moments where we forget the most basic of things, which I thought was super adorable. And she mentions that her dog did ruin a few of the takes because of the snoring, which is absolutely adorable. And then the very last thing we'll end on is that they ask her if there's any other characters from video games that she really loves, and she mentions Mario Kart on the N64 and how she only plays as Yoshi. She actually says, I actually will not play the game if I'm not Yoshi. So I guess I would say Yoshi. And then they ask her to do the impression, and apparently her impression is very good because everyone starts laughing and applauding her. And I kind of wish these were on video so we could witness this ourselves and just kind of have a good laugh. And I'll leave a link in the description below to this interview so you guys can read the full thing. There are a few things we did kind of skip over just for, the sake of time, but Britt seems like a genuinely wonderful person, and getting to read these interviews from the cast cast and learning about them and their experience as actors and as, you know, becoming fans is a really awesome thing to see. It was actually one of my favorite things about the marketing for Final Fantasy XVI was learning about the people behind those characters and what their experiences were. So getting to see this for Rebirth is something that I very much appreciate, seeing how open Britt is with her character. She has mentioned before that she does occasionally watch people's YouTube videos that talk about Final Fantasy VII, so I have no idea if she will ever come across this video. Probably not, but I do want to say that if you do, Britt, you are doing a fantastic job as Tifa. You're doing the character justice and your performance is phenomenal. You've added so much dimension and layers to her, and I cannot wait to see what awaits Tifa in Rebirth and getting to see, much like Cody, Britt stretch her acting chops even more. So that is the video. I am curious, Corduroy. Let me know in the comments down below, what do you guys think of Britt's performance as Tifa and how she's portraying her? And is there a specific moment from Tifa that you're excited to see in Rebirth? I will see you guys in the next video. Please remember to always be excellent to one another.